he put the first question to me, very first question to me. So kindly guide me. I have to do a FDP at my institution also, similar to this. Because only in the phone interaction we used to talk. She has joined as a participant and she put, and next question, when you are going to conduct UHV3. But she is conducting UHV3. I'm a participant here. Every time she will ask me, when you are going to conduct UHV3. So the dream has come true now. We are very most expected FDP, which she and me used to talk always. So we are very happy to, and I'm very happy to say in this juncture, she is hand-holding with me with all the activities in SR. Thank you, Supraja ma'am.
Those days I really want to complete and see what's next, but
yeah,
not understanding it's something to do within lot. now I am not in the hurry to do that.
See, these self-funded FDPs are like the old Jajmani system. Okay. In the Jajmani system, you have somebody who has the means to make those means available to the community for the good of the community, okay. Not just for themselves, just for the community. And this is a very good example. SRM is a good example of that. They have the means. They are not only doing something for themselves, they are also making it available to everybody else. See, this work in the society will have to happen with the contribution of the society. Like I said, I am quite amazed that we can spend so much time in addition to our regular work. What were we doing with this time before UHV? So you can write down, what you are doing before that. How are you spending your time? So it has shifted from, I have to do something with my time, particularly for the retired guys like us. What do we do with the time
Bhaiya,
when we are not at work?
Let me add one
second.
Yes, Bhaiya, please.
So we have time, now we have a purpose, and we can see that this is something which is useful for not only me but for others. So whatever I can contribute, I am happy to do that, because it is also resulting in my development, in the development of my family, of my institution and so on. So that Jajmani system, this is a good example of that. This institution, yeah, take mic. Then we'll come back to you, Sumati.
The phrase that we use is research and development. So the faculty who were doing research earlier are now doing development. So this is the transformation that is taking place. Another commendable thing that we can make out from the sharing so far is that if one faculty gets committed to understand and lead a value-based life, that one faculty is able to transform the whole institution. And we can see that change in 3 years. As we can see from multiple examples, within 3 years, we can see a substantial program taking place in the institution, through which many more faculty are able to join, and the transformations are taking place in the whole working of the system. So this kind of possibility we can see through the sharing, and this kind of possibility is of course there. Another thing I would like to mention, that we are doing just some calculation, and as we share during the workshop also, that one person can transform 10 people in next 10 years. And going by that progression, in 100 years, we can have 100 crore people who get transformed, 1,000 crore people. So just calculating that if one has to develop 10 people in 10 years, so if you take the 10th root of 10, it is 1.2589. So in 1 year, 26% of transformation has to take place. Yeah, so going by that, every year 26% enhancement has to take place. So in 100 years, we are going to have 1,000 crore people who are either proactive or active, people working for the society. That kind of possibility is there. Thank you.
The shift is from focus on problems to focus on some overall solution and working for that overall solution. We'll come back to you. Yeah,
One
okay.
minute, 1 second. Yeah.
Via mic.
Yeah, Mike.
Kumar Bhaiya is taking a lot of interest in these days in quantifying the shift, quantifying the transformation in terms of internal, in terms of the society, the whole, this impact measurement things, impact assessment. And I guess this is very important for each one of us. So if any one of you, is interested in counting impacts at individual level or institution level, family level, societal level, national level by using this research methodology or any such sort of tools, right? Tools to measure the impact, tools to measure the changes and the transformation. Please, tell us so that we can have one team, a team to measure the impact of UHV.
With your permission, sir.
Yeah, and then Sumati ji.
Yeah.
Who all are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, good. Somebody can note down names. Suprajaditi can do that. Okay.
I found myself, it is my personal experience, I'm very hale and healthy.
Very?
Instead of hale and healthy, very healthy, energetic. So I may say that I never visited a doctor. In spite of 70 plus, still I teach for 6 hours per day. I sit 9 o'clock in the morning. I remember your voice, still 5:30, review meeting over. Immediately another meeting. Still I feel quite healthy. That is my personal experience. You are all like my children, I say. Keep yourself in some activity. Best activity is spreading these universal human values. We feel contentment, satisfaction, and we will be very well physically, mentally, academically, and morally. That is my personal experience. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
By Ganesh ji. So let me invite Ganesh ji for session.
Okay. Am I audible? Yes. So I have to wait for some more time. In the meantime, we can take up some question. Yes. If there is any question from what we have discussed in the morning, first half. Yes.
The consciousness unit, whether it is singular bhaiya or it is plural. Self, there is only one self. Or there are many selves. Because when I listen to other lectures, I heard that there is only one consciousness.
So your question is that whether consciousness unit 1 and consciousness unit 2, they are two different units or they are one unit? Is that the question?
Basic question is whether it is singular or plural. Consciousness unit, that itself bhaiya.
No, this is what I am asking, that unit 1 and unit 2 are same or they are similar, or there is something which is similar and something which is different. What is the question?
Same thing bhaiya, whether it is one consciousness unit which is reflecting in other units, the same consciousness unit, or multiple consciousness units are there, but the same one, but it is existing in plural, multiple forms.
Yeah. So human being 1 is coexistence of self I1 and body B1, right? And H2, I can write human being. That will make it clear. Huh? Now the question is I1 equal to I2 is equal to I, or I1 is similar to I2, or some activity So I have broken your question into these 3, right? Myself, yourself are different, right? Because I think differently and you think differently, isn't it? If I1 was same as I2, then my thinking and your thinking must be the same. My feeling, your feeling must be the same, right? Which is not always true. So this is not true. It is possible that at some point of time, under certain conditions, I1 may be equal to I2. I may think similar to you, right? I may feel similar to you, but most of the time it is not so. Or most of the time second is I1 similar to you? What is the answer? In some way they are similar, some way they are not similar, right? So, yes, the potential is same, right? And what else? purpose is same. And program is ultimately same, right? But competence is not same, right? So this is same, this is same, this is same. This is not same. So that is the answer. Okay. Eh? Yes. The third thing, that there are some activities of I1 which is same as or similar to the some activities of I2. This, if you see, at the level of pure observer, at the level of natural acceptance, we are all similar, which is some particular activity of the self. Right? Yeah, that is the answer. I will deal with this other part, sometime. When it is said that the consciousness is same, what does it mean? Okay, that we will discuss later. But when you are talking about the self are different in general. Some activity of this self may be similar to the other activities of the self, right, which is in terms of pure observer, in terms of natural acceptance, this all we can verify, right. And in terms of potential, which is essentially referring to pure observer, and the natural acceptance, the potential is same, the purpose is same, program is same, but their competence is different, which essentially means that if you look at the level of the highest activity of realization, they are similar. At the level of sanskar and the level of all these preconditionings, imagination, we are different. So at this level we are different, at this level we are similar. And this self is combination of all these, the pure observer, the sanskar, the imagination, right. Yes. Yes.
Is the same, potential is same, program is same. In such a case, with the right understanding, our consciousness also should be same, and it should be same for all the self. And this competence should not come into picture with all. Like everybody should be treated in the same level. But competence arises, which creates a lot of differences.
Yeah, so we should understand what is similar, what is different. The similarity is also there, the difference is also there. Okay? We can observe that similarity, we can observe that difference, and we should know how to handle this difference. Right? When we talk about this realization, understanding and contemplation, we will find that those three things can be similar for all of us. The realization of coexistence can be similar, understanding of the harmony will be similar, contemplation of relationship will also be similar. Those three things can become similar, right? In that case, our desires that identification of the purpose will also become similar. And then our potential will also become similar. Our competence will also become similar in that sense. So all of us will be able to fulfill our need to live with continuous happiness. So that is there potentially, but that potential has not been realized. And we have to realize that potential. And ultimately that is the purpose of education and sanskar. Ultimately the purpose of education and sanskar is to help every child to realize this potential which is already there within him, which he has not realized. And if you look at the education system today, are we giving education for this purpose? What do you think?
Why I am audible?
Even that minimum relationship is not there.
And that relationship is there till we give the assignment marks. Once assignment mark is completed, finish, relationship over. Thank you.
Yeah, what is happening is the feeling in relationship is not there. It is simple transaction. Transaction without relationship. So this has to be realized. This potential, this purpose, this program has to be realized, and that is the meaning of developing the competence. And the purpose of education is to equip the child with that competence, to realize his potential. So there is a famous saying that this right education is one which frees you, from all bondage. Isn't it? Helps you to know yourself, know your potential, know your purpose, know your program, and realize it. So now you have to add such things from outside, as one of the value education course. Whereas this has to be the basis of education, isn't it? Everything else will be built on this. Rather than this being an additional course, this has to be there at the basis, isn't it?
Sir, today education system is book-based and mark-based only student study. That already I have mentioned so many times in the online program also. Cycle, the wheel is there, handbell is there. If you give the idea of the paperwork, then student practice, then only on time fell down in the ground, and the practice only we can get the clear-cut driving force. But today education system, book-based, only mark-based, we are getting a degree and everything. Now UHV comes, student are really understand. SNH generally student, we are the base for the engineering college students. First we motivate the student, why you come here and what is the purpose of studying engineering or some other degrees. We give some ideas about that one. After the UHV, students are motivated somewhere. But practical knowledge in the current system also, in my opinion, to be improved.
See, the ultimate issue is that what I am giving as an education, does it relate to my life directly? That is the issue, right? If it relates to my life, it is practical. If it does not relate to my life, and if it is only a tool to earn money, right, then there is problem. But see, I mean, we as teacher have to feel responsible. That at one point of time, this education system was designed not to free people from their slavery, but to make them slaves. Okay. This was done with a very concrete decision, isn't it? Around 150 years back. The unfortunate thing is that we are still continuing with it. So we as teachers have to take responsibility and do something about it. We keep complaining, Macaulay did this and, he made us slaves and all that. Okay, fine, 75 years we have become independent. Macaulay has gone, right? The whole British government has gone. What are we doing in education? Yeah, medium is one thing. The whole content, what is the content? This whole education system is not talking about me, about you, about ourselves, right? Our purpose, our program. It is only talking about how to become an employee, how to get a job, how to get a good salary, good facility, right? Yeah, that is the content of education, isn't it? Yeah. So, but we should not feel that we are helpless. If we have something meaningful to talk, students are there to pay attention to it. Yes. And I would say UHV is one example where when you start working on it yourself and you start sharing with the students, they certainly respond. Initially they may have some notions about it, but if you start working on yourself and it starts reflecting in your behavior, they start responding, and it can make a difference. And that much of freedom is there even now with all the problems, there is enough scope for the teacher, to provide right kind of education. Not very difficult. Yes. Okay. So, we were talking about the shifts that we have to go through, okay, in our very being, So, if you look at the where we are, most of us, or the introductory workshop, most of us are focused in the level of physical facility or at the level of body. Can you see that? So, studying in IIT means getting a good job. Getting a good job means getting a good salary, right? Which means good physical facility. Or is it anything more? So, whether doing engineering or medical or anything, it only means getting a good job, good physical facility, right? And with good physical facility, what do? You can keep your body healthy. Even you don't do that, right? Yes. One shift is that from there you are paying attention to the sensation. Sensation means some activity taking place in the body and it is read by the self. So, it is subtler than the body, right? It involves both the body and the self, isn't it? So, you eat ice cream, there is some sensation, right? You happen to like that sensation, okay? Or some sweet or something, right? Listening to some song, some music, right? All this is sensation. It is subtler than the body because it involves the body, some activity in the body and reading of that by the self. Then trying to get some feeling from the other. Feeling is certainly more subtle than the sensation because the feeling is where? At the level of body or at the level of self? Self. So it is the activity of the self. Now if you look at your program for getting happiness, this is the major program, right? Your program for getting happiness is trying to get happiness from favorable sensation, right? Or from favorable feelings from others. And in order to do this, you are investing this, the body and the physical facility. What do you do with physical facility? Huh? Today with the physical facility, you could cook good food, tasty food and eat, right? Get right kind of sensation. You have a good room with air condition, and what the air conditioner is giving to you? Some favorable sensation, right? Instead of heat, you are feeling cold. Huh? What more?
Yes, Bhaiya, here.
All your technology, science, everything, at the most what it is doing?
Bhaiya, just one
Yeah.
clarification. There is sensation every time we are telling. Listening to music, it is just for relaxation. It is not of continuously we won't be able to hear for 24/7 all lifetime. It is just to relax, and IPL matches if we watch, just for relaxation. It is not wrong on ourself. Just to get relaxed for some time, we listen to music. Whatever the songs we like, we can hear, and we can go and watch out a movie. Just, it is meant as sensation. Okay, let it be for just 3 years. Is it wrong? Yes, that is what.
You eat food,
Yeah.
and you eat tasty food, there is no problem. But if you think that by eating tasty food you can derive continuity of happiness, and therefore you go on eating,
That is what.
spoil your stomach, that is the problem. Right?
Yeah, that is what. Limitations are there within myself. I know the limitations, and because when my own colleagues from here, all the UHV team, whenever I tell Shah Rukh Khan movies or any songs, if I keep it in WhatsApp status, they will tell it is all sensation and other things, and they will make fun of me. So just for to get it on the spirit, I used to have it for just few minutes. So that is whatever it is. I know the limitations and the conditions that it is not a continuous happiness. Just to make it get relaxed for some time, we used to go ahead with the things.
Yeah. So we will talk about how these sensations can be rightly used. Like when I am saying something, right, and you are listening to it, it is a sensation, isn't it? Only thing is that we are trying to make right use of it. So through this sensation, you are able to listen to what I am placing as a proposal, and now you are verifying those proposals in yourself. So sensation are anyway being used. So there is no opposition to the sensation. But we have to understand that these sensations cannot be the source of continuity of happiness. That clarity has to be there. Similarly, if I want to get continuity of happiness from the favorable feeling from the other, then also I am in trouble, right? Because this cannot be continuous. Number one, it is creating dependency on the other. Number two, this getting something from outside itself does not have the continuity. So this does not work. This 6 and 5 does not work for continuity of happiness. 4 and 3b also does not work. Morning I was saying, what is nitya and what is anitya, what has continuity in time, what does not have continuity of time, that I have to differentiate. And only that which has continuity in time can be a source of continuous happiness, and not otherwise.
Bhaiya?
Yeah.
Here. Bhaiya, this side. I was just checking what is this feeling from others and feelings from within, because both are the feelings happening within me only. The feelings are within me, and why am I expecting this feeling from others and within me? What is the difference between a 3 and 3b?
3a means if I have the right understanding, I will have the feeling of relationship for everyone, and this I can have in continuity, and this does not depend on the other. This is feeling from within. Second is, I am trying to get the right feelings from the other, feeling of respect, feeling of trust. That cannot have the continuity.
So the 3a is meant to be understanding part, and 3b is from feeling from others.
Yeah, so 3a has a possibility of continuity if it is based on my right understanding.
Right understanding.
Five, that cannot be source of continuous happiness. If I am working with 4 or 3b, that can also not be a source of continuous happiness. 3a can be a source of continuous happiness if it is based on the understanding, right understanding. Then at the level of self, in fact, if you look at the shift from UHV2 to UHV3, is basically we are saying that this cannot be the source, this can also not be the source, this can possibly be the source. Ultimately the source is at the level of self. The source of continuous happiness is at the level of self, and this need is also at the level of self. This need of continuous happiness is not the need of the body, it is the need of the self. So am I looking at myself at the level of self? What do you think? When you are looking at yourself, are you looking at the level of self or still looking at the level of body and physical facility? Self. Good. So this much we have settled. Then we will see that even at the level of self there are different possibilities. Okay. One is at the level of imagination. Now you know what imagination is? Yeah. This desire, thought, expectation that you have, right? And these desire, thought and expectations are decided on the basis of your preconditioning, right? Your assumptions, what we were discussing in the morning, depending on your sanskar, right? So if you are operating at this level of the self, still you are in trouble, because different people have different imaginations, different feelings, right? You may have a right feeling or a wrong feeling, right? And if you have a wrong feeling, you are in a state of disharmony, contradiction and unhappiness. Similarly, if you have a wrong sanskar, it will give rise to a wrong feeling and you are in trouble again. So ultimately, you have to be at the level of pure observer, at the level of your natural acceptance, at the level of right understanding. So that is where ultimately we can find a solace. So number one question is whether you are at the level of self or at the level of body. Then within the self, you are at the level of imagination, at the level of sanskar, or at the level of pure observer, where you are. What is the center of your being? Ultimately, you have to operate at all these levels. You have to operate at the level of body also, you have to operate at the level of physical facility also, right? But which is the center of your being? Yes, Lipika ji.
Yes, Priya. 3A, what is the other source of 3A? You said one is right understanding.
Other is the preconditioning, your sanskar.
So I can feel from within, the feeling of relationship will be there without the right understanding?
Yeah, it may be out of the assumption. Like in our whole tradition, it is said that love everybody like yourself. Right? Or we are all the children of God. Therefore, love everyone. It is a good, thing. And it will, if you believe it, it will give rise to a feeling of relationship. Right? But will it have continuity? It may or may not have continuity. If you have not understood that we are similar, okay, at the level of self, at the level of our natural acceptance, we are all similar, right? And we have a natural acceptance for relationship. When I have this feeling of relationship, I am in a state of harmony and happiness. Unless you understand all this, your feeling of relationship is not continuous in nature. It is not definite. See, a good tradition or good sanskar, even if it is by way of assumption, is very helpful. Why it is helpful? Because as long as you work with that assumption, it will give rise to right feelings and it will be helpful. But if you have not, if it has not led to understanding, then at the time of crisis, you may change your decision. So what we are saying is that if there are right kind of beliefs, very good to begin with, but then work on them and make it as your understanding rather than just remaining as a belief. And that is why all the time we are saying, don't take it as a given, truth. What we are saying is, take it as a proposal and verify it on your own right. Unless you see it for yourself, that it is right for you, right, it will not have the continuity.
Yeah, one more question, Bhaiya. What is the difference between feeling in 2C and 3A?
Feeling?
What is the difference between feelings in 2C and 3A?
Yeah. This feeling and this feeling is the same, right?
I just wanted to know this. Is it same or is it different?
Yeah.
It's same.
Maya, can I ask? Maya, I have two questions here. One is, when we say that the sources for 3A is going to be right understanding, or it can also be preconditioning or assumption. Then why is that we have differentiated preconditioning assumptions on the top and you have these feelings from within on the bottom? Both can be given in the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah. I was only trying to differentiate between your center of being. If you are centered at the level of feeling, then this is 3A and 3B. If you are centered at the level of self, then it has 3 possibilities, and one of them is this feeling, thought, and expectation.
Okay, Bhaiya. The other thing is 2C, which is my imagination, is also, it can be based on, the source for my imagination can be based on preconditioning, assumptions, or the sanskar. And why is that differentiation over here, 2B and 2C?
This 2B is the seed, and this is the tree growing out of the seed.
Okay.
The seed is there as your preconditioning, as your sanskar, and whenever it gets a favorable condition, it grows into a plant and a tree. So your imagination is like the seed of sanskar growing into a plant. Right? For example, if you feel that you have to compete with the other, okay, if that feeling is there, there is struggle for survival of the fittest. If that assumption is there, any time it can take the shape of opposition, feeling of opposition. And with that feeling of opposition, you can start thinking so many things, and planning what to do. Okay? So all that is coming out of your basic assumption, there is struggle for survival. So if you have to really set things right, you have to tackle these preconditionings, right? These assumptions which you have made in yourself.
Bhaiya.
You have seen that banyan tree?
Yes.
How big it is? Okay. You have seen the seed of banyan tree?
Small.
How small? What is the ratio?
Ratio maybe 1:10,000 or 1 lakh.
Yeah, 1:10,000 or 1:1 lakh, right? If you want to handle your sanskar, it's like handling that small seed. But if you don't handle that small seed and it becomes a big tree, you can understand how difficult it will be to handle it.
Bhaiya,
Yeah.
here that feeling is same as desire, the feeling, thought and expectation, and that feeling is same as desire.
Yeah.
And second question is, how do I find where am I in this?
Where?
How do I find where am I in this? Because sometime we are in the feeling and sometime we are in this imagination and condition. So it's again in the fluctuation. So how do I see?
Yeah. What I am doing now is posing this question,
Okay.
for all of you. You have to trace where you are. But then all through these 8 days, I'll try to help, you to locate where you are. Yeah, that is the purpose.
And this feeling and desire is same, Bhaiya?
Yeah. So this feeling and desire are same. In fact, that the feeling that I have towards the other unit, that is what becomes my desire in relation to that unit. For example, if I have feeling of relationship with the other, my desire becomes to live with that feeling, right, of relationship. If I have the feeling of opposition, then my desire becomes to live with that feeling of opposition with that person. So if you really want to identify the desire, it will be in terms of the feeling. Yes. I can be centered at the level of imagination. I can be centered at the level of preconditioning, the sanskar. I can also be centered at the level of pure observer. So even when I am focusing at the level of self and I am at the level of imagination, I am still in trouble. If I am at the level of sanskar, I might still be in trouble. Only when I am at the level of pure observer, I can come out of the trouble. Right? That is where I can be safe. And there is still one more step to go, right? This pure observer is there with the realization of this coexistence, with the realization of this space. That is at another level that we have to talk about. Because that realization of coexistence is something which is essential for me to understand the coexistence, to have the feeling of coexistence, and to live with that feeling of coexistence, in my behavior, in my work, in my participation. Working with the level S1 and S2, up to this, I am trying to derive happiness from outside. And this cannot be the source of continuous happiness. When I start working above this S2, that is 3A, 2C, 2B, 2A and then 1, there is a possibility of continuity of happiness. And there I can see happiness is my innate nature, happiness is from within, and then only I become fully responsible towards myself. Yes. This is the gross most level at which we are living, As you go up, this is increasing in the subtleness. Physical facility is the gross level, gross most level of your being. Subtle than that, physical facility is the body, subtle than that is the sensation, still subtler is the feeling, right? And you are going up, finally up to the level of space, which is no activity. Yes.
At ages from 6th to first one, like in many cases, I can relate to the feeling of divinity, where I could find the difference in me, around me. Like throughout the UHV, I used to check, I could not find any word like divinity. So in this slide, where I can connect the divinity with this part, 2B, 2C and all, like God thing, like that feel.
Yeah, that's what I was saying in the morning, that now you through this process of self-exploration, you will be able to see that possibility of divinity in you. And as you explore and realize these things, you will feel divine, So all those things that is being talked about in the tradition, now they will not just remain as some beliefs, they will become some real things for you. Right? The moment you have a feeling of relationship, number one, it makes you in harmony and happiness. That is one thing. But you can see that it immediately expands you, right? It expands you from yourself to the other to whom you are feeling related, right? Divinity is basically that expansion, right? What you said rightly, that I am expanding, To begin with, I was an individual. Now slowly I am realizing that I am not just an individual, right? I am an integral part of this whole existence, right? Which is in the form of coexistence. When I realize that the existence is in the form of coexistence and I am an integral part of it, That means that I have now realized that I am an indivisible and integral part of the whole existence, right? That is the divinity, isn't it? That is the divinity. But this is something which I have to realize myself, you know. And when I have that realization, I have the feeling of relationship for everyone. That is what is called love, you know. That is the meaning of prem, right? Love for everyone. When I have feeling of love for everyone, then I develop that compassion for everyone, right? So, number one is understanding this coexistence, which is the truth. On the basis of understanding the coexistence, I feel related to everyone, that is love, that is prem. And on the basis of that feeling of relatedness to everyone, I have compassion, karuna, right? So, when you say Satya, Prem and Karuna, then this divinity is not something, you know, which is something to be believed, but it is something to be realized and practiced. And when you realize this, then you understand that every religion is talking about this only, right? Every great person, every saint has essentially been talking about this, irregardless of whether he is from left or right or east or west, right?
Sir, I have something to say with my feelings, not question.
Yeah, please.
Sir, actually, in this years of my teaching experience, one thing I found, sir, self is realization. And after attending UHV, frank to say, I did not attend UHV. Supraja ma'am was keep on sending mails. Yeah, keep on sending mails. I asked, who is this Supraja?
Out of her
First
love,
question.
out of her
Oh,
love
my
for you.
mailbox is getting full because of Supraja mail. Who is this Supraja? First thing that only I asked. After that, the first initiative was she used to come to all department. The first department is our department. All initial activity will be started by Department of Physics and Nanotechnology. Okay, but no relaxation in the department. Okay, 24-hour job. So first thing she came and talked about UHV. I actually came half an hour late and attended her talk. But it was quite interesting. I just gave one word. Initially, previously, whenever people talk, whenever people say any joke, everyone give applause and appreciate. That appreciation and smile, when people see each other, we smile each other. That was the first thing I was telling to madam after a talk. You smile beautifully. That is the first thing I told her. Yeah, that smile is gone for me actually. Okay, people say you smile, but I never smile. Now I'm staring for 7 years. Okay, smile is gone totally, I'm telling. That could be because of other environmental, family, work pressure, all things. So when I just said clap the hands, my HOD made me UHV coordinator of the department. Okay, I never attended UHV. I don't know anything about UHV. I asked what is UHV? No human values, then where is the human values coming from? I asked this question. Then after keep on slowly, I had a friendship with her, talked with her. My HOD made me UHV. I don't know what to do, you please help me. She told all the things, other things, and she was again keep on sending us mails and messages that this will be useful to attend like that. So first thing when I requested madam is 8-hour daily class, 4-hour class, 5-hour class. Now if I want to attend online UHV came last year, 22. If I want to, first I attended on December, I first registered. I could not attend because my mother was seriously ill and I was in hospital with her, I could not attend, frank to say. Then second time, when I'm about to re-attend, I told her, you please relax ourselves. So first thing which I want to appreciate her is her efforts. I just requested her, that's all. She took it very seriously and talked to Dean, everyone. And she said, you can prepone or postpone your classes and attend UHV. So with that reward which she gave us, I sent a mail boldly to my HOD, putting CC, including UHV cell. I will not take any classes for 1 week. I want to sit for online class and I will attend. Then he said, Supraja madam said, okay, you proceed. That's all. So in that attitude, UHV1 I completed. That is 3 months after HOD appointed me UHV coordinator, 3-4 months. Then next UHV2 came. I used to motivate everyone in the department. Nobody used to hear. Then I sent an audio recording. So when I sent an audio recording in the WhatsApp, so many were very eager to listen rather than read the messages. Some message come like that only, I neglected her message. No, every time she is sending mail, she is torturing us. Like that they also neglected my message, cut copy, control alt delete. So after I gave an audio recording, they were really interested, and 20 to 25 faculty right now. They have done UHV1 and 10 to 12. But she used to tell us, don't force. Let them bring from inside and let them give, interest for attending the UHV. Now UHV3 came. So that time, madam used to tell from the beginning to us in the group. But I never, because department, they will not leave. I don't know what to do. Now again, I mail to HOD, 8 day I am not available. I finish all my portion Friday, everything done. Rest mark entry I will take care. 8 day I will not be available. So I am not responding to any of the messages for the 8 days. Because when I take the phone, you are given an order from ASCTE, don't use phone. So this hall has that respect. I need to give the respect. I am not using phone inside the hall. Deepesh sir morning told, you can use during break. So afternoon only, because I told my mother and husband, I will not call you, don't worry. If I am not coming also, you don't worry. They got afraid. So they want to know my status. So I just tell the status, I'm here, I ate food. Then they keep the food, they are happy. But these are jokes. What I want to convey here is, when we are thinking deeply from the self, we will say that we want to change from self. But 2 organs, I used to tell the students, 2 organs are mainly controlling our self. The most powerful organ in our body is eye and the ear. For eye, you give a word, it's God. It's a C. C. It's really a C. When you get anything plugged into the eye, when you get any harm in the eye, immediately it will shed tear to tell you that something has happened, some problem is there. And when I see, my eye is not telling anything that sir is bad or sir is good, like that. But my ear, time is 5 o'clock. When it will be over, 5:30, I need to catch and go. This will send a signal in a disharmony. So what the ear does is, the maximum concentration capacity of a human being is 20 to 25 minutes. So after 25 minutes, the mind starts to wander automatically. That is human nature for all human. So the ear will send an anharmony signal to the brain. So the brain will control all the organ. If you take my class, after 15 minutes, my students say, what she is teaching, she is irritating us. But after I enter the class, I will say, today class is 20 minutes. Total period is 50 minutes. After that, 10 minutes attendance. Okay, half an hour. Next to 20 minutes, you do the assignments. Okay, I will not disturb you, you don't disturb me. But 20 minutes, you should not distract. You should never distract, because your brain capacity of listening is 20 minutes. You want me to read the PPT or you want me to tell the matter? Like you are explaining to us and making us understand, I will ask them. So with this, it is able to see some transformation in them. So that is the first thing which I learned. And next thing is, this ear is actually controlling the entire organ. If the eye is made to control the ear, then as madam was asking the question, we will achieve the divinity. Definitely we will become divine. Because eye is 100% like C, but ear has a name called Saguni. Saguni. I will say here to that sir, Chandan sir, because sir morning told us all, 80 people name you should remember tomorrow. It took 1 year for me to remember 26 of my PG students. But within 1 day, how... I was fearing to Chandan sir, how are you able to, how many numbers you collected? Because I want to see the face, and suppose suddenly sir asks, who is Chandan? I cannot say he is Chandan. His name is Satish. He is Chandan. I should pinpoint correctly. Till now 15 to I think 20 number only I remember. Even that also count I don't. That immediately shocked me. How it is possible within 1 day for me to remember 80 names when I took 1 year to remember 26. See now, my ear is controlling, not the eye. If my eye control, I will say, By observing, by talking, you can, like that it will control. Since my ear is controlling, it is creating how it is possible. That fear, everything it's creating inside. So you used to keep on telling from morning I'm observing, observer, observer. Actually, that is a powerful word in physics. We have in quantum mechanics, observable. That observable will control a wave function. So when it is able to control a wave function, we will get something deep into our soul. But when I get that deep into the soul, definitely I'll become God or godly. Thanks. I also fight only. Then husband gave me food, fight over. That's all. Then tomorrow new fight.
We are not very in a hurry to evaluate. Okay? We are giving enough opportunity to express. Okay? Then each one of us can evaluate ourselves. So my purpose of placing this is essentially to provide some kind of yardstick for you, to keep asking yourself, what Suprajaji was asking, how do I know where I am, First we have to have an yardstick, right? So I am providing that yardstick. Now you will start asking this question to yourself, as to where I am. And as we go ahead, we'll keep responding to this question, This, all this possibility that each one of us has within ourselves. I have just written down those possibilities. I have drawn your attention towards it. And now you will start asking this question to yourself. What is the center of my being? Where am I focused? Ultimately, I have to work at all these levels, right? I have to work at the level of physical facility, I have to work at the level of body, I have to work at the level of relationship, I have to work at the level of sensation, right? I have to work at the level of my own self, right? My imagination, my sanskar, ultimately my pure observer, and ultimately I have to have the realization of this coexistence, this is space, right? That whole range is there for me to be. But the question is, what is the center of my being? Where am I centered? That question you have to keep asking, right? So some points for your self-reflection. Since UHV-2, what effort are you making for self-exploration on a regular basis? What is the outcome of it? Share 3 specific achievements. Write down any 10 key takeaways from UHV-2. This is about UHV-2, right? Your takeaway from the UHV-2. This will be helpful for you to work further, here in UHV-3. Fresh? In this third lecture, we will do the recapitulation from UHV-2. Okay. So what we have already covered in UHV-2, I'll just try to recall it. आप करेंगे इसको, कुमार?
We will talk about the third lecture of UHV-3. So basically we are recapitulating UHV-2, and I think by now all of us are aware what is UHV-1, what is UHV-2. So basically when we are conducting the workshops, so we call it UHV intro. So that is the introductory workshop. UHV-1 is basically for the SIP. UHV-2 is the course that we offer in the second year. So all of us have gone through UHV-2, and we'll try to look at the content of UHV-2. So we'll talk about the basic human aspiration and its fulfillment. So I think by now we are clear about this. So if I ask you what is the basic human aspiration, what will you say? Yes. So yeah. And what is the program for its fulfillment that we have talked about in UHV2? Okay, nice. So the foundation course in Universal Human Values UHV2 is a prerequisite for this course. Therefore, before we proceed, let us recall some of the basic concepts relating to the certain basic realities that we explored in UHV2 course and which are going to be used and further developed in this course. So now if you try to recall all that we discussed, these are the points that we have discussed. So if you remember, there were 5 modules. Okay. So in the first module we talked about the basic guideline, content, process, need for value education, isn't it? So what is the need for value education? What are the basic guidelines? So can we recall what are the basic guidelines? Universal. All income. Yes, nice. So basic and these basic guidelines are very important. See, if you are clear about the basic guidelines, so this is just one proposal that is coming to you. You might get several other proposals. Now whether this proposal is fit to evaluate, fit to verify or not, you can evaluate by the basic guidelines. If something is being said to you which is not universal, isn't it? Then at the very outset we can decide that this is not something that I am going to verify also, because this is not universal, isn't it? So it cannot be validated in living also. The next thing that we found was that the natural acceptance is there in each one of us, and this is an innate faculty on the basis of which I am very naturally able to evaluate any proposal. So you will see that, like when you go through the UHV2 workshop, even in the introductory workshop, we become aware of one very strong thing in each one of us, and that is the natural acceptance, on the basis of which I can decide what is right, what is wrong, what is true, what is untrue, isn't it? What can be real, what cannot be real. So for that I do not have to depend on any external source, but rather within me there is some faculty innate to me on the basis of which I can decide the things. So that is another takeaway from the course, and it is innate and different from any acceptance or conditioning. I will also say that it does take time for each one of us to distinguish between natural acceptance and acceptance, isn't it? So gradually, in fact, when we begin, then we assume that yes, the natural acceptance part is clear to us, but as we go to live accordingly and validate, so many questions arise, where we start questioning whether this is my acceptance or my natural acceptance, isn't it? Then the basic human aspiration is continuity of happiness and prosperity. So when we talked about this thing in UHV2, we said that we also need prosperity, and here what we are saying is that the feeling of prosperity is a part of feeling of happiness. So this is also another important takeaway. In fact, when I ask my students who have gone through UHV2 course, what you remember in the 4th year, you studied this in the 2nd year, then many of them have said that one thing became clear to us, that I basically want to be happy. Maybe in the due course of time, with so many things coming up in life, we get engrossed in sub goals, many sub goals. I have to become a professor by this age, I have to become a director by this age, I have to become an IAS officer as I graduate, I have to publish so many papers, right? I have to get a house of my own. We have so many desires, plans, goals, and many times we do forget that I basically aspire to be happy. So if that is also something which is running in my mind all the time, that whatever I am doing is essentially to be happy, isn't it? And another takeaway from here, if you look at it, is that if at any stage of life I am doing something unethical, isn't it? I have fear of that doing something unethical, and that fear is going to make me unhappy. See, if at any stage of your life you have to decide between ethical and unethical, and you are very clear that if I do something unethical and this is going to harp upon me anytime in future, and that is going to disturb me, that is going to bring unhappiness to me, I will not do that. If I am very much clear that I basically aspire to be happy and this is going to make me unhappy, for sure, why will I do that? So it has a very deep impact if you look at the ethical conduct of a human being. if I am very clear that whatever I am doing to be happy and not to be unhappy. I basically do not aspire for physical facility. I basically do not aspire for name and fame. I aspire for happiness, and what I am doing is not going to ensure happiness, so I will not do that. Is that true? So if you try to look at it, it has a very deep kind of meaning. Similarly, prosperity is something that I aspire for, and not physical facility or money or wealth. I want the feeling of prosperity, isn't it? And we have explored a lot about this. And prosperity and possession of wealth are two different things. How much I possess does not determine whether I feel prosperous or not. It is the difference between the need for physical facility that I assess and the availability that I have. If the availability is more than what I assess as need, I feel prosperous, else I do not feel prosperous. Then we also saw that there are three basic requirements for each one of us to lead a happy and prosperous life: right understanding, relationship, and physical facility. I think this also gets somewhat imprinted in our imagination that there are three things which are required. Physical facility comes as a third priority, relationship holds a higher priority, and basically both of these are going to be met with fulfillment only with right understanding. So I require three things, and this is something like many people do ask that if I have to present about UHV in half an hour, what should I say? Then you present this content: right understanding, relationship, and physical facility. It is something that can be presented in 3 minutes, 30 minutes, 3 hours, 3 days, 30 days. Depends how much you are going to expand, isn't it? So the correct priority gets clear to us. Then we are able to understand that happiness is to be in harmony. So if I ask you, is happiness the same for all? Yes. If I am able to see that happiness is to be in harmony, then only I can say this. Otherwise, a common notion is that everybody has his or her own notion of happiness. So how can everybody have the same meaning of happiness? So, yes, this is one common notion. And you can see, like the responses that we are getting right now, so many assumptions or preconditionings have been done away with, and we have been able to dispel all those kinds of wrong notions. So happiness is to be in harmony, and prosperity is a feeling of having or producing more than required physical facilities. Then about human being, we are able to make out that human being is not merely the body. Human being is coexistence of self and body. So there is one entity self and there is another entity body. Is that clear? Yes. So I have noted down the key takeaways from UHV2. Then there are three sources of imagination in the self and the program to ensure self-organization over enslavement. So what are the three sources? Sensation, natural acceptance. Yes. Now we are able to make out, in fact, doing the exercise 1 and 2 as well as doing conducting sessions or attending the meetings, these three sources become ample clear to us. Now this is something which is a sensation and it is not going to ensure happiness in continuity. There is also going to be some dependence outside. This is something which is a preconditioning. And how do I verify whether it is preconditioning or right understanding? How do I verify whether something is preconditioning or right understanding? Yeah, so if it is naturally acceptable, then it can be right understanding, isn't it? I will explore further to find out. But if something is not naturally acceptable, certainly it is a preconditioning. Then responsibility of self toward the body, and we are able to see the body as an instrument. So the more clarity we have of the coexistence of self and body, we are also able to see that body is my instrument. And somewhat it does appear to us that then since self is continuous and body is temporary, then self is central to human existence. This is one natural conclusion that we are also able to draw in UHV2. We are further reinstating the same thing in UHV3. Now with that, I am able to be responsible to my body. So can anybody list out the program for self-regulation, if you remember? Yeah. Okay. So there are 4 parts, no? Yeah, so intake and daily routine, then labor and exercise, then postures for regulating body and breathing, medicine and treatment. Yes, nice. Nice. And for myself, I have found that these 4 parts of the program do appeal very seriously to me. So if I have to take care of my health, I start from intake. Whether my intake is proper or not, whether my upkeep of the body is okay or not, how many steps I am walking in a day. So if you start from there, you will find that you are able to make your body healthy naturally. But there are lots of information over YouTube, media, where you gather information about health. But you will find that ultimately, if I am not able to ensure this in proper sequence, my health of the body is not going to be ensured. Then we talked about relationship. Now here also we saw that relationship holds a higher priority, and we are able to see the role of feeling in the relationship. And these feelings are to be stated in the self, not to be borrowed from the other, isn't it? So when we go to fulfill any relationship, the feeling is the primary thing. Because many times, whenever we also feel that yes, I have to fulfill relationship, we go into the expression part, the fulfillment part. Now we may try to appease the other by fulfilling the preconditioning of the other, fulfilling the desires of the other. And in that process, we get tired. We feel fagged up because we are trying to do so many things to fulfill the relationship, but the other person is not getting fulfilled. Why is that happening? That is happening because I am not clear about the feeling. So when we talk about relationship also, the essence is the feeling part. So I am able to shift my attention from fulfillment to the feeling part. If the feeling is ensured, then only it can be fulfilling. If the feeling is not ensured, it may or may not be fulfilling. It is something temporary. Also, one important takeaway is that if the feeling is ensured in me, and if the other person is not getting fulfilled at that moment, I do not get disturbed, because I can see the feeling in me, and then I help the other to evaluate me rightly. If I try to decide my state of happiness by the response or reaction of the other in terms of fulfillment, then I am enslaved, because every time I am depending on the reaction response of the other to decide for myself whether I have done the right thing or wrong thing. But if I am able to contemplate on the right feeling in me, then I feel happy within, and then I am able to also see where the other is lacking in competence, isn't it? So now when we start a discussion about feeling, we are able to see that trust is the foundation, and the intention of every human being is pure. Only the competence has to be built up. It is for me as well as the other. The same thing holds true. I am also developing my competence, and it also appeals very rationally, because I can see for myself when we are talking about the imagination that I am enslaved by preconditioning and sensation, and that's how I am not happy naturally within. The same thing holds true for the other also. So essentially I have to develop my competence, and I have to help develop the competence in the other. So that becomes the foundation, and we can see that we all, through our sharing also, we can see, have been able to develop our relationships with the feeling of trust by distinguishing between intention and competence. Then we are able to see the complete meaning of respect as right evaluation. So the other is similar to me in 3 dimensions. What are those 3 dimensions? Every other person is similar to me. Purpose, program, and potential. Yeah. There also, in fact, if you are able to see this clearly, you are able to respond to so many queries in life. Even if I am able to see the intention of the other, that okay, it appeals to me that yes, the intention is pure. But I am explaining so many times to the other, and other is not able to understand. Where am I going wrong? Or is it so that the other person cannot understand? Or is it so that the other person cannot understand this way? I have to adopt some other way. But if I am clear about the program and potential also, then that assurance is there in me all the time. That if I understand by self-exploration, the other will also understand by self-exploration. It's only that I may not be the mentor of the other, isn't it? Then we get the complete meaning of respect, where we are able to also see that differentiation is disrespect, and each one of us is complementary to each other. Now, as a human being, we are able to see our relationship in terms of complementariness. Each one of us essentially is trying to complement each other in terms of development of the self. That is fulfilling the relationship. This is the program that we have to make with each one of us, with our spouse, with our child, with our neighbor, with our in-laws, that we just have to complement each other in development of the self, and that is fulfilling the relationship. And that is the meaning of respect, yes. Yeah, so in terms of developing the competence. So if I am behaving with my child, whatever words I used are meant to develop the competence, right understanding in the child. Similarly, the words that I use with my spouse are meant to develop right understanding in my spouse. So I can evaluate every time. The other person may not get fulfilled at that moment of time, but I am able to see whether my purpose was to develop the competence of the other. Okay. The desire that I had was to develop the competence in the other, or it was with some opposition, to subdue the other, to oppose the other, to dominate over the other. What was my desire? If my desire was to complement the other, I am okay. I have done my part. Now I have to further enrich it. But if my role was not to develop the competence, it was to dominate over the other or put the other down, or something else, then my role has not been correct. Even if the issue got resolved, but I have not done the right thing. And that will not ensure justice in the relationship. That will not ensure happiness in me also, isn't it? Then we are able to get the true meaning of love. Now, love is a commonly misunderstood word, and we are able to see that in the young age how children mistake this word for in terms of infatuation or something else. So, starting from trust, we are able to see our relationship, our expanse of relationship. Now, you just see, like earlier we assumed our family to be spouse and children, at the most our parents and in-laws, isn't it? Now we are able to see our relationship with so many people. It's not only with those who are sitting here. In your department also, now you are able to feel related. The job is not merely for earning money, but it is also to fulfill the relationship with your colleagues, with the students, with the superiors, with the subordinates. So that feeling, the relationship grows. Then another important thing, like for example, we have elections happening today, so many propaganda going on, this or that. Now a common question is, can there ever be harmony in the society? Can we have a common vision of a developed society? Now this is something that occupies your imagination a lot. You can see so many debates taking place. Now you just ask them, what kind of society do you want? Nobody is clear. They will just say that it should be free of corruption, it should be free of this, it should be free of that. But essentially, what do I aspire for? Do I have a clear vision of the society that I want to be in? So we get a clear vision here when we talk about the 4 common human goals in the society. And what are those 4 common goals, if you remember? Yes. Yes. Nice. Ji sir. 2 minutes. Then we talk about the nature. Yeah, to fulfill the 4 common goals, we have the 5 dimensions. Yes, we'll talk about it. Then we are also able to understand the nature. Like if you look at nature, it is a collection of so many things, but we are able to classify them into 4 orders. And there also the understanding of the consciousness and material is very important. That's how we are able to distinguish between animals and plants. This is one important key takeaway. Now if you look at the courses in biology, medicine, there also the distinction is not clear, how plants are different from animals. But here we are able to distinguish between plants and animals, isn't it? Now this is another thing, submergence of nature in space. Acha, okay. So I close this here now. Bas ठीक है. Some nature and space in detail. We also talk about holistic perception of existence and the participation therein. So we'll discuss about these 3 points in detail in UHV3 also. So that is all from my side for today. Thank you.